So in this video, we're going to discuss the economy and dating. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis and unemployment's on the rise. With that being said, what would be interesting to know is how people are faring in the dating market.
According to this article, half of Gen Z is spending no money on dating, not because they don't want relationships, because they literally cannot afford them. And this article talks about how we're in a romance recession. And I think a lot of people feel that in the way they feel about dating right now. And I think part of it is money. People cannot afford to date. And I've talked in the past about how we can't afford friendships because it's so expensive to go out and do things. And it just feels like every single thing costs money. And so it's been very hard for people to maintain their relationships because of that. So I think we're seeing a lot of people opting out, not because they don't want connection, but because connection has in many ways been monetized to the point of inaccessibility. And I think a lot of people feel like they are kind of almost locked out of the opportunity to date because they don't feel like they can afford that. And in a lot of my newsletter articles, I talk a lot about what happens when things become too expensive, how that reshapes culture and reshapes how we relate to one another. And obviously dating typically costs money. That's kind of been a fact for a while. But I think what's changed is the kind of disappearance of affordable spaces, third spaces, where you could meet somebody organically or go on a date organically and it wouldn't cost like $100 for dinner or something like that. And on top of this, we have dating apps that are really pushing you to pay for a higher subscription tier, which is just another part of like the idea of monetizing connection. And very similar trends are happening in like friendship circles as well.
She said a lot there, but let's unpack. I think first things first, you can do some free things or things that are not that prohibitive, but you just have to go out there and look for them. They do exist. The question is, though, the person that you're inviting on the date, are they going to accept that experience? And in many cases, the answer is no. We'll get onto that later, so stay tuned. And I think what's important to hone in on here is the economic reality that we all face. Inflation means that things are more expensive. But when you look at your wages or what you're earning, you have to ask yourself, are you earning more than you were 3 to 5 years ago? The answer for many is no. So their costs have increased, but their income has remained somewhat stagnant. In addition to that, unemployment's on the rise. So you have more people out of work and that are not able to spend. So what does that mean for their dating lives? A lot of people will argue, well, you're unemployed, you shouldn't be dating. But that's a question or an argument for another day. Now, when you think about it, what this means is that it can be cost prohibitive if you like to date a certain way. So there's no surprise why people are falling back from dating. If you've lived a life where you think you have to do certain things or you have to experience dating a certain way, you may be put off by the fact that you simply can't afford to live the life that you once lived. So you're going to withdraw. But to her point, when folks are not able to pay their rent, pay their credit card bill on time, pay their student loan, pay their car loan, I think dating is probably going to be on the back burner. Not just because of money, but also because of time, which ties into the money thing. Because a lot of the time that they do have, they're using to work to pay off those debts, which means they haven't really got time to date. So for some folks, they're simply not where they want to be in life, which means dating gets put on the back burner. But as I've mentioned earlier on this channel, I'm a huge proponent of meeting people where you're at, being honest and transparent about your situation, and getting in where you fit in. So I don't think you should wait until the perfect time to date because you may be waiting forever. Or worse, you may get to a situation where you are financially free or you're doing a lot better. And all of a sudden you look around and think, okay, now it's time to date. But because you don't have experience whilst you are going through that building phase, you may get finessed when you do make the money. You may not, but you may get finessed as well. So I'd say if you're not where you want to be financially, of course, dating shouldn't be your priority. But if there's a good person, you vibe with them, you can lock in together, take advantage of that situation. Absolutely pursue it. But of course, it shouldn't be your main priority. You shouldn't be out there in the street slanging it left, right, and center. You need to be responsible and disciplined. We're going through hard economic times, which means a lot of people are withdrawing from dating. So that's why I find it super interesting when I hear clips from some people who expect a lot of men in particular to go over and above when dating, especially early on. They want five-star experiences. They want a lot of money spent on them without any regard for the macro economy that we all live in. And I think this next clip does a good job of illustrating my point a bit further.
Hold on a second. So you're really telling me that you're leaving your house to go on a coffee date? And you're trying to convince me that that is a real date. That's not a real date. That's a vibe check. He's not being intentional, and that is not investment. And if that is how you're starting off with that man, it's not going anywhere. And I don't need to be psychic to tell you that. It's going nowhere. Because in the beginning, if a man is not trying to impress you, he doesn't care enough. Okay? He does not give an F. What are you doing? It's 2025.
Yeah, it's 2025, and that's exactly why he's offering you a coffee date. Times are hard. I don't know when you was last outside, but times are hard. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. As I mentioned earlier in this video, housing costs have gone up. Breathing has gone up. I mean, leave your front door, oxygen is 100 quid. You're going to spend $100 when you leave your front door just to breathe. So the fact he's offering you a coffee date, you should be happy about it. I ain't gonna hold you. And the reality is, if you liked him, it doesn't matter where you go. You'd be happy to go. You'd comply. In fact, you'd even follow him home after a night out if you really liked him. And I think this is the part that a lot of people don't want to say on the internet. They've done things in the past that are not congruent with the things that they're saying on the internet. Now, I'm not saying this is the case for this individual, but I see it a lot. You have folks saying, I require this guy to do X, Y, and Z. He needs to spend this on me. He needs to pick me up. He needs to order me an Uber. We need to go to this rooftop. But you've dated men that you really like for a lot less. A walk in a pizza, a drink at a bar, small talk at a nightclub. That was it. As a guy, if you like going to coffee shops, keep doing you. Keep going to coffee shops. Don't let these messages get into your head, making you think you need to do more than you need to, because that's not the case. If you like doing other things, do those things and invite your date along. Because as I said before, in this economy, it's important that you keep most of your money in your back pocket, because your job tomorrow isn't promised. I can assure you that. And you don't know if the price that you're paying for things today is the price that you're going to pay tomorrow. And it looks like you're going to be paying another 20 to 30% more within the next 2 years for everything. So just bear that in mind. If you're trying to be financially responsible and get to know someone, this is a good way to go about it. What would you rather? A guy go all out, go over and above, but be deep in credit card debt, or someone be financially responsible and take you on a coffee date, but you know he's actually got it like that? Surely you'd want the latter. Surely. And I don't think a coffee date is indicative of a lack of intention or him not caring. He simply just wants to get to know you, and that's the best way he knows how. What would be interesting to know, though, is what you guys think down in the comments below. Also, while there, YouTube is telling me most of you are not subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button and like this video if you haven't already.
And if you are not financially stable, you do not need to be worried about being in a relationship. You do not need to be worried about dating if you do not have your finances together. Period. We are too grown to be worried about somebody not being able to take us out on a date or take us here or buy us flowers or do this, the bare minimum, because they don't got no money. If you don't got no money, why are you even trying to be in a relationship? Go get your shit together. Y'all be trying to make excuses for people. Everybody got the same 24 hours in a day. Whatever you choose to do with your 24 hours, that's on you. But I, as a grown-ass woman, if I know that I get up every day and I go to work and I get up off my ass to make sure that my bills and my expenses and my finances are taken care of by myself, if you as a grown man are not choosing to be productive within your 24 hours so that you can be able to take care of your bills and take care of your finances and then be able to then take care of me, we don't have nothing to talk about. Because if you don't have your finances together, there's nothing to talk about. What are we talking about? You need to be worried about getting a job. You need to be worried about getting a career. You need to be worried about what you finna do to be able to pay your bills and make sure that your finances and your expenses are taken care of. You should not be worried about dating a woman. And I don't know what gets in y'all head to where y'all think that somebody that is not struggling by themselves needs to come voluntarily struggle with you. Why would I come struggle with you if I'm not struggling by myself? Make it make sense. That don't even make no damn sense. If I'm not struggling by myself, why would I come struggle with you voluntarily?
That's a good question. That's a good question. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Look, I think it's a complex situation because not everybody that is out of work lacks ambition, right? Not everybody that is out of work isn't on a career trajectory. Sometimes things happen. You're made redundant, a contract expires, visa expires. These things happen, right? And life has a funny way of throwing things at you. And if you are somebody that's attractive, you will attract people, irrespective of whether you're down or up financially. So if you're an attractive guy and you might not be in the best financial situation at present, that doesn't mean your future looks murky. You could just be going through a bad spot, but you're an attractive person, so you're going to attract females. What are you supposed to do? Say, you know what, actually, no, I'm not going to talk to you right now, even though we've got a great connection. I think we'd be good together because I'm down and I'm focused on getting a new role. Life doesn't work like that. Sometimes you have to just get in where you fit in and make things work. As I said before, it shouldn't be your priority. But I think with this rhetoric, things are too black and white, especially when people like this speak. Now, I think she's alluding to a guy who lacks ambition, isn't driven, isn't doing anything, is just bumming around. But if, as I mentioned before, someone's just going through a bad spot, which a lot of Americans are right now, as I mentioned, unemployment's on the rise. We've seen mass layoffs from Target, UPS, Amazon, Google. So it's affecting people across the economy. These aren't folks that are lazy, uninspired, who lack drive. They may just be going through a bad spot. But I'm sure they're good dating candidates and can probably be good partners in the future. But the reality is, right now, at this present point in time, they may not be economically viable. But that doesn't mean they're bad people or bad partners. So I say that to say this. If you're basing who you're going to date solely on that financial component, you may be missing a trick. You may be missing a trick. Because as I said before, some things happen. Life throws curveballs at us all, especially when you least expect it. Certainly happened to me. I've been super up before and I've been down. And as I said, dating has never been a priority when I've been down, as in being outside, dating a lot. But I'm certainly not going to say, do you know what? I'm not where I want to be right now. Everybody, F off. I'm going cold turkey. Because life doesn't really work like that. Because most of the folks that you date who really like you are not just there because you have money. There are other things about you that attract them. But this message seems to be coming from a place of somebody who's very money orientated. She even alluded to it earlier in the message. She said, look after me as well. So as well as looking after you, she wants you to look after her. Again, that's absolutely fine. You're allowed to like what you like. You're allowed to want what you want. Good luck on you finding that person who's able to look after you in addition to looking after themselves. Because I can tell you, most Americans based on median and average income will not be able to look after you in addition to themselves, especially where the cost of living crisis is going and where inflation is headed and where the prices of homes are headed. On an average or median salary, you are not able to look after two people. You're just about able to look after one. So you're going to have to work as well. But I do understand the sentiment. I do get where she's coming from. So since we're talking about dating and the economy, I wonder what life is like for young men with degrees that are struggling to find work.
It's demoralizing for guys who really want to get ahead, and it's just not happening.
Young men are struggling to get jobs, even if they have a college degree.
It's like, wow, I can't even get a job as a busser.
I have 900 plus applications, and I have received nothing.
Men under 30 with bachelor's degrees have almost double the unemployment rate of young women with the same education level. According to data analyzed by NBC News, 6% of 23 to 30-year-old men with a bachelor's degree are unemployed. One reason for this?
Essentially, 100% of the labor force growth has been coming from the healthcare industry. And that industry is overwhelmingly female. While at the same time, you've seen these traditionally male blue-collar jobs in manufacturing, transportation and warehousing, mining, those have been down or flat.
And while a bachelor's degree is still valuable to women entering the workforce, it doesn't carry the same weight it once did for men. Data shows that young men with a bachelor's degree are actually slightly more likely to be unemployed than their peers who have just a high school diploma.
And I think what we're seeing more of is demand for credentialing of some kind that is aligned with the actual work rather than simply a college degree.
We are told that a college degree our whole life is a golden ticket to the American dream. So you graduate with this degree that's supposed to rocket you to a stable career, and you just fall flat on your face.
And beyond the economic implications, this shift can impact the mental and social health of young men too.
Yeah, she's not lying. So there's no surprise why some guys are just withdrawing from dating. Now, one thing a lot of younger folks can do is pivot. You're still young, you've got time on your side. If you need to pivot into an industry that makes you more employable, do so. If that means going into the trades, becoming a plumber, an electrician, or even going into healthcare, maybe consider being a nurse. If that means you're more employable, entertain the idea of it. Because if you're economically viable, then you boost your chances of being able to date. There are opportunities out there, but it's a question of pivoting and trying to find somewhere that you may fit in. And I know it can be difficult because you thought your life would be one way and you're having to pivot or maybe pivot again. But these things happen. As I said earlier in the video, life throws curveballs at us all. Trust me, I know it all too well. And sometimes you just need to pivot. Swallow your pride, kick that to the side, kill the ego, and pivot. Who cares about what people may say about you or what folks may think because you're doing a job that's considered beneath you or that's considered feminine? Do what you need to do to get paid. Providing it's legal, I'm happy for you to do it. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you're doing what you need to do to pay your bills, don't watch what people say. Do what you need to do. And take a leaf out of the women's book. They're clearly doing something right. They're in careers that are in high demand, that are paying them relatively well. I'm sure you can do the same. Now, let's have a look at this next clip, which I think summarizes the current situation quite well.
Did you guys hear the great news? As of this week, there are more unemployed people than there are job openings in the United States of America. I'm so tired of winning, Mr. President. I don't want to win anymore, Mr. President. The last time something like this happened was 2021. That's right. The last time there were more unemployed people than there were jobs available was when we had a global pandemic. Maybe implementing stupid tariffs, giving billions of dollars to fund AI development, and outsourcing a bunch of our jobs, it wasn't a good idea. Maybe that's not a good idea. Not a good thing for people living in this country.
Yeah, probably wasn't a good idea. And with the market outlook, things appear to be getting worse. And the reality is for a lot of people, dating is going to be put on the back burner because they're not where they want to be economically. Now, don't think for a second that you have to be the finished product to date. If you're not where you want to be, though, dating shouldn't be your priority. You ought not to be a serial dater. You shouldn't be outside just doing whatever. But if the right person comes along, you vibe, you're locked in, and you're working towards something, pursue it. Because who knows, you may not make it to the finish line. You're all saying when you get to the finish line, when you're the finished product, you're going to date. But who knows? Are you going to get there? Now, I know not everybody is fortunate enough to be able to date when they're down. I do realize you have to be part of a fortunate few, a special demographic to be able to still attract people, even when you're in your broke phase. I do understand that. But if you are in that situation, don't feel as though you have to be perfect to date. Because if you wait for that moment, it may never come. Trust me. But just recognize there are going to be women out there who expect you to be of a certain financial caliber to date them. They are going to expect things from you, and they're well within their rights to do so. Just know they may not be for you in this present moment in time. And if there is somebody for you, pursue it. if you're on the same page. In any case, what would be interesting to know is what you guys think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you in the next one. Peace.